When I saw the shiny new SUV pull into my daughter's driveway, something inside me snapped. Not anger, not yet. Just a cold, creeping realization that I had been played for a fool. For 3 years, I had listened to excuses about tight budgets and overdue bills while I watched my own savings account drain to nothing. But there it was, gleaming in the afternoon sun, a brand new luxury vehicle with temporary tags still taped to the window. Before we continue, I'd love to know, where are you watching from and what time is it there right now? Drop it in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. I sat in my car across the street, phone in hand, scrolling through the screenshots I had been collecting for months. Weekend trips to wine country, designer handbags casually tossed on restaurant tables, birthday brunches at places where a single mimosa cost more than I spent on groceries in a week. And now this, a $50,000 SUV sitting in the driveway of two people who claimed that couldn't afford to pay me back a single dollar of the $33,000 I had loaned them. The worst part? I had believed every word. Every tearful phone call, every promise that things would turn around next quarter, every reassurance that they hadn't forgotten about me, they were just waiting for the right moment. I was 56 years old and I had just realized my own daughter had been lying to my face for 3 years. My name is Maya, and I have lived in Gulfston, Houston my entire life. I got married here, raised my daughter here, and spent 28 years teaching elementary school in the same district where I once sat as a student myself. For most of my life, I followed the script: work hard, sacrifice for your family, and trust that love would be enough. But at 53, I finally did something for myself. I left teaching to become a floriculturist, something I had dreamed about since I was a girl arranging wildflowers in mason jars on my mother's kitchen table. I opened a small flower shop in a strip mall on Hillcroft, and for the first time in decades, I woke up excited about my day. My shop became my sanctuary, a place filled with color and fragrance and the quiet satisfaction of creating something beautiful with my own hands. 3 years later, I sold the shop. Not because I wanted to, but because the landlord tripled my rent and I couldn't keep up. Still, I walked away with something precious: $35,000 in savings after paying off my debts. It was my nest egg, my security, my fresh start. I had earned that peace. I never imagined that the people I loved most would see that money as an opportunity. It started on a Thursday evening in late September. I was in my kitchen arranging a small bouquet of dahlias for my dining table when my phone rang. Dora's name lit up the screen, and my heart did that automatic mother thing, equal parts joy and worry. "Mom." Her voice was trembling, but there was something else underneath it, something I couldn't quite identify. "I don't know what to do." I set down my scissors. "What's wrong, honey?" "We're behind on the mortgage, 3 months behind. Dre lost his biggest client and my hours got cut at work and we can't catch up. The bank sent a foreclosure notice." My stomach dropped. I looked at the dahlias on my counter, their petals still perfect, still full of life. "How much do you need?" I asked. There was a pause, just a beat too long. 33,000, just enough to get current and give us breathing room. We'll pay you back, Mom, I promise. We just need time to get things back on track." Then Dre got on the line. His voice was different from Dora's, measured, practiced. "Maya, this would mean the world to us. We'll even draw something up if that makes you feel better, a real agreement. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking for a loan." I thought about Dora as a little girl, how she used to climb into my lap after a bad dream and fall asleep with her head on my shoulder. I thought about the life I wanted her to have, stable, secure, free from the kind of financial terror that keeps you awake at night. Let me think about it overnight," I said. But I already knew what I would do. The next morning, I went to the bank and transferred $33,000 into their account, nearly everything I had. The teller, a young woman named Jessica who had helped me deposit my flower shop earnings dozens of times, processed the transfer in silence. When she handed me the receipt, she looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Family loan," I said, as if she'd asked. She nodded slowly. "Take care of yourself, Mrs. Rivera." That afternoon, we met at their kitchen table. Dre pulled out a piece of notebook paper and wrote out the terms in surprisingly neat handwriting. $33,000 loan from Maya Rivera to Dora and Dre Patterson, to be repaid within 1 year, starting October 2020. "We'll start paying you back next month," Dora said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "Small amounts at first, just to show you we're serious." Her eyes were so sincere, so full of gratitude and relief. "I trust you," I told her. Dre stood up to get more coffee, and for just a moment, less than a second really, I saw him glance at Dora. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. Something passed between them that I couldn't interpret. Dora's smile didn't change, but her eyes shifted away from mine. I told myself I was imagining things. The first payment never came. Not in the first month, not in the second. When I called in December, Dora's voice was strained. "Mom, it's just been crazy with the holidays. We'll catch up in January." January came and went, then February. By March, I had stopped calling. I didn't want to be the nagging mother, the one who made them feel guilty for needing help. They had promised a year after all. But I started noticing things, small things at first. A new handbag in a Facebook photo, a post about a weekend getaway to Fredericksburg, wine glasses raised to the camera, captioned reading, "Much needed getaway, #blessed." I scrolled through more photos, designer sunglasses, restaurant check-ins at places I'd never been able to afford, a post from Dre about his side hustle taken off, screenshots of 5-star reviews, photos at networking events. I picked up the phone and called Dora. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" She sounded cheerful, unburdened. "I saw you guys took a trip. Things must be getting better." There was a pause. "Oh, that. Yeah, Dre's mom gave us some money for our anniversary. We really needed it. Things have been so stressful." "What about the loan repayment?" "Mom, it's been a really rough quarter. We just had to pay tuition for the kids' programs, and Dre's contracts got delayed. We're stretched so thin right now." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, staring at my phone. Then I opened Facebook and started taking screenshots. Every brunch photo, every new purchase, every humble brag about Dre's growing business, I saved them all in a folder labeled simply Evidence. I wasn't planning to do anything with them, not yet, but some instinct told me I would need proof someday, proof that I hadn't imagined this, that my hurt was justified. The breaking point came on a Saturday afternoon when I drove past their house to drop off some cookies I'd baked for my grandchildren. That's when I saw it. A brand new Lexus SUV sitting in their driveway, temporary tag still in the window. I parked across the street, engine idling. A Lexus. Easily $50,000, maybe more. My entire loan to them sitting there in luxury automobile form. For the first time since I'd given them that money, I let myself feel what I'd been pushing down for months. Rage. Pure, clean, righteous rage. I didn't deliver the cookies that day. I drove home, went straight to my bedroom, and cried, not from sadness, but from the sheer force of finally admitting the truth to myself. My daughter had used me. By the third Thanksgiving after the loan, I had stopped asking about repayment. I had stopped calling unless they called first. I'd learned to make myself small around them, careful not to mention money, careful not to burden them with my needs. When I walked into their house that day, I understood why. The dining room looked like something out of a magazine. Professionally arranged flowers, expensive hothouse blooms, not the kind I used to grow. Place settings with matching chargers from Potter Barn, wine bottles with labels I'd only seen in restaurants. Mom, you're here. Dora air kissed both my cheeks, her perfume expensive and unfamiliar. Isn't everything gorgeous? We had it catered this year. I carried my simple sweet potato casserole to the kitchen, feeling suddenly foolish. Through the window, I could see that Lexus in the driveway, now joined by a new motorcycle. Dinner was perfectly orchestrated. The children chattered about their private school activities. Dre held court about his expanding business, and I sat there, invisible, the woman who had made much of this possible. After the kids excused themselves, I found my voice. Dora, we need to talk about the loan. The temperature in the room dropped. Dora's smile turned brittle. You're really bringing this up now? During Thanksgiving? When should I bring it up? You never want to talk about it. Dre leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine. His voice was casual, almost amused. You know, Maya, that little piece of paper you had us sign? My buddy's a lawyer. He says that wouldn't hold up anywhere. Too informal. No witnesses, no notarization, no clear repayment schedule. A decent lawyer could argue this was a gift, especially given the family relationship. The words hit me like a slap. I'm not talking about court, I said quietly. I'm talking about keeping your word. Dora slammed her fork down. You told us you'd be fine without that money. You said it wasn't a burden. That doesn't make it a gift. God, Mom, you're acting like we stole from you. We're a family. Family helps each other. And family pays each other back. I stood up, my chair scraping against their expensive hardwood floors. I didn't wait for dessert, didn't say goodbye to the grandchildren, didn't look back. As I drove home, the truth settled over me. I had confused love with loyalty, and loyalty with obligation. My daughter had looked me in the eye and chosen money over our relationship. The following Monday, I sat in attorney Michael Chen's office on Westheimer. He read my notebook paper agreement carefully, then looked up at me with practiced sympathy. Mrs. Rivera, I'm not going to lie to you. This is problematic. But we both signed it. He sighed. Technically, yes, but it's too informal for most courts to enforce. No witnesses, no notarization, no clear repayment schedule. A decent lawyer could argue this was a gift, especially given the family relationship. So I have no recourse? You could sue, but it would cost thousands in legal fees with no guarantee of winning. Even if you won, collecting would be another battle. And honestly, he paused. Family court judges see cases like this every day. The odds aren't in your favor. I walked out of that office, $200 poorer, and feeling hollow. The law couldn't help me. There would be no dramatic courtroom victory, no judge ordering them to return what they'd taken. That night, I made a decision. I deleted Dora's number from my phone, then Dre's. I muted them both on Facebook. I couldn't bring myself to unfriend them completely. Not yet. I called my sister and told her simply, I need some distance from Dora right now. Please don't pass along messages. The first week was the hardest. My phone felt too light without the weight of expected calls. But here's what surprised me. Dora didn't reach out, didn't text, didn't show up at my door with explanations or apologies. The silence was deafening and revealing. They weren't sorry. They weren't worried about losing me. They were simply relieved the requests for repayment had stopped. That silence hurt more than any argument could have, but it also freed me. 4 months passed. I had started taking watercolor classes at the community center, reconnected with old friends from my teaching days, and begun designing small floral arrangements for a local event planner. My life wasn't grand, but it was mine again. Then, on a Thursday afternoon in March, I ran into Rosa Martinez outside the Barnes & Noble on Highway 59. Rosa had been Dora's friend since high school. "Maya!" She rushed over, her expression somewhere between concern and excitement. My stomach tightened. "Heard what?" She glanced around, then leaned closer. "About Dora and Dre. The IRS came after them." Apparently, Dre was hiding income from his side business, didn't report it properly for years. They got hit with massive fines and back taxes.
I stood frozen. And Dora lost her job last month. Budget cuts. Without her salary and with all those penalties, they couldn't make the mortgage. Maya, they're in foreclosure. They have to be out by the end of April. I should have felt vindicated. This was karma, wasn't it? But standing there in the Texas heat, all I felt was a deep, aching sadness. "Are the kids okay?" Rosa nodded, staying with Dre's parents. But Maya, Dora's a mess. She's been calling everyone she knows, asking for money. No one's helping her. Word got around about how she treated you. After Rosa left, I sat in my car for 20 minutes. I thought about that Lexus SUV, probably being repossessed right now. The catered Thanksgiving dinners, the designer handbags and weekend getaways, all paid for with money that should have been saved. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel revenge. I felt the bittersweet weight of watching someone you once loved destroy themselves through their own choices. 2 weeks later, my phone rang at 9:47 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Mom?" Dora's voice was barely recognizable, raw, broken. "Mom, please. They're taking everything. The house, the cars, everything. The kids don't understand why we have to leave. Can you help us? Just a little. Enough to stop the foreclosure?" Every maternal instinct I possessed screamed at me to help her, to fix this, to make the pain stop. But then I remembered the $33,000, the 3 years of excuses, the Lexus, the catered Thanksgiving dinners, Dre's smirk as he called my agreement worthless. "Dora," I said quietly, "you still owe me $33,000. The silence was absolute. "But Mom, I have nothing. We have nothing. That's why I'm calling." I know. That's exactly how I felt for 3 years, like I had given everything and gotten nothing back, not even respect. "So you're just going to let us lose everything? Your own grandchildren?" "They're staying with Dre's parents. They have a home. What they don't have is parents who made responsible choices." I could hear her crying now, harsh sobs that once would have shattered me. "Dora, I love you. I will always love you. But I can't keep saving you from consequences. I spent 3 years waiting for you to keep your promise. Now you want me to forget that promise ever existed. I didn't think you'd actually hold it against me. You're my mother. Being your mother doesn't mean I have to enable you." After I hung up, I expected to feel guilty, cruel, like I had failed. Instead, I felt peace. My hands weren't shaking, my heart wasn't racing. For 3 years, I had let them control my emotions, my finances, my sense of self-worth. I had waited for them to validate my generosity, to acknowledge my sacrifice. But that night, I had taken that power back. That night I slept better than I had in 3 years. 3 months later, I stood in the community center's activity room arranging sample bouquets on folding tables. 8 women had signed up for my Saturday morning floral design workshop, Spring Centerpieces on a Budget. Good morning, everyone. I'm Maya Rivera, and I'm going to teach you how to create something beautiful without spending a fortune. I had started small after that phone call with Dora. A few arrangements for a neighbor's dinner party, then a small backyard wedding for a colleague's daughter. Word spread slowly, the way good things do in close communities. The first rule of floral design is knowing your limits. This bucket has $30 worth of flowers from the farmer's market. If I try to make 10 arrangements, they'll all look sparse. But if I make 3, they'll be stunning. A woman named Patricia raised her hand. So it's about working with what you have instead of pretending you have more.
Exactly. As the weeks went on, my workshops became more than just flower arranging. Women shared their stories over stems and shears. Divorce, job loss, adult children who took advantage, financial mistakes, dreams deferred. I listened and I shared. Not everything, but enough. My savings account began to grow again, slowly but steadily. I wasn't chasing wealth. I was rebuilding security. Every deposit felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I started saying no without guilt. No to friends who wanted free arrangements, since you love doing it anyway. No to last-minute requests. No to anyone who confused my kindness with obligation. One evening, I sat in my small apartment, paid for entirely by myself, decorated on a budget but filled with things I loved, and realized something. My strength had never been in the $33,000 I gave away. It had never been in my ability to sacrifice for others. My real strength was in knowing my worth and protecting my peace. The money was gone, probably forever, but I had gained something far more valuable. I was demonstrating how to wire a boutonniere when I noticed her standing in the doorway. Dora looked different, thinner, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail instead of styled waves. She wore jeans and a plain t-shirt, no designer labels. But it was her eyes that struck me most. They weren't defiant or desperate. They were humble. My hands stilled on the floral tape. The room fell silent. "Dora," she said quietly, "can I join?" I could have said no. Every woman in that room would have understood. Instead, I heard myself say, "There's an open seat in the back. Workshop fee is $20. Dora nodded and pulled cash from her wallet, not a credit card, I noticed. She took the empty chair and picked up the tools I'd laid out, her hands shaking slightly. For the next hour, I taught. I didn't give Dora special attention or ignore her. She was simply another student. After the other women left, Dora remained. We cleaned up in silence, putting away scissors and gathering stray petals from the floor. "I got a job," she said finally. "Retail. It's not much, but it's honest work. We're renting a small apartment now. The kids are adjusting." "That's good." "Mom, she cracked, "I can't pay you back. Not now, maybe not ever. And I know sorry doesn't mean anything after what we did. But I need you to know that I see it now. How we used you. How we justified it because you're family. Like that made it okay." I set down the vase I was holding. What changed? Losing everything. When you have nothing, you finally see what actually mattered. And I realized I didn't just lose money and a house. I lost my integrity. I lost you. I threw away the one person who loved me unconditionally. For what? A car that got repossessed? My own throat tightened. If you want to be part of my life again, it has to be different. No more asking for money, no more excuses. I need to see change, not hear promises. I understand. Can we start there? We didn't hug, we didn't cry and reconcile like a movie ending, but we sat down at one of the work tables, and for the first time in years, we had an honest conversation about her mistakes, about my boundaries, about what a relationship could look like when it wasn't built on obligation. The $33,000 was gone. I had made peace with that.
But sitting across from my daughter, seeing genuine remorse instead of entitlement, I realized something. The money had never been the point. What mattered was whether I could respect myself while loving someone who would hurt me, whether I could maintain boundaries while leaving room for redemption, whether I could forgive without forgetting the lessons I'd learned. Dora left with a small arrangement she had made, simple daisies in a mason jar, something she could afford, something honest. I watched her walk to her older used car, and for the first time since this whole ordeal began, I felt something close to hope. 6 months have passed since that workshop. Dora comes to my classes now, every other Saturday. She pays her $20. She's learning not just how to arrange flowers, but how to create beauty within limits, a skill that extends far beyond floristry.
We have coffee sometimes after class. Our conversations are careful, tentative, but real. She doesn't make promises about repayment anymore. She doesn't offer explanations or excuses. She just shows up consistently and lets her actions speak. I still don't know if I'll ever see that money again. Probably not. But I've stopped measuring our relationship by what I'm owed. My life continues, teaching workshops, designing arrangements for intimate celebrations, rebuilding my savings dollar by dollar. I have my dignity back, my freedom, my purpose. And now, slowly, I'm learning what it means to have my daughter back too. Not the one who used me, but a woman who's learning the same hard lessons I had to learn. That sometimes love means boundaries. That family doesn't justify exploitation. That the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't money. It's the space to find their own strength. And that the most valuable thing you can give yourself is the courage to protect your peace, even when it costs you everything else. I stand in my small apartment on quiet evenings, arranging flowers in recycled jars, and I know something I didn't know 3 years ago. I am enough. My worth isn't measured by what I give away. It isn't proven by my willingness to sacrifice. It simply is. The $33,000 bought me that knowledge, and in a strange way I never expected, that might be the most valuable return on investment I'd ever received. Not revenge, not vindication, just the quiet, hard-won peace of finally choosing myself.
Thank you for watching Maya's story.
If this resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories about courage, boundaries, and finding strength in difficult times. Share your own story in the comments below. You never know who needs to hear it. Remember, your worth isn't measured by what you give away, but by what you choose to keep for yourself.